Well, welcome to Tuesday, April 14th, 2020. And our top story today is allergies, because holy cow, do I have them. Pollen is definitely not staying 6 feet away from me right now, so I apologize in advance for today's extra stuffy, extra congested edition of Cord Cutting Today. I'm Philip Palermo, and as always, thank you for joining us. Coming up today, we're going to talk about Roku's 2020 so far, Disney's Bob Iger coming back to take the reins, Verizon trying out some remote tech support options, and more. But first, of course, if you want to support the channel, feel free to click the like and subscribe buttons down here below. You can also click that bell icon that notifies you whenever we upload new content to the channel. And of course, all the stories we're going to talk about today will be located down below in the video description. You'll find links to our site, cordcuttersnews.com. And with that, let's go to the news, shall we? First up, Roku, like a number of other companies right now, has announced it's withdrawing its 2020 financial outlook in the wake of the ongoing coronavirus pandemic and the uncertainty that that situation is bringing about. In a statement, they expressed confidence in their performance, but added that the larger impacts and overall duration of the pandemic are just too unpredictable right now. That said, the company did offer some updated stats on its year so far, including nearly 40 million active accounts by the end of March. Now that total suggests that about 3 million users have signed on since the start of the year, and the company says its devices have streamed a little over 13 billion hours during the first 3 months of 2020. The company says that represents a 49% jump in streaming compared to the same period last year. Now, you might think that's all due to the stay-at-home mentality a lot of us are in right now, and yeah, that probably has a lot to do with it. But Roku also pointed out that it's also rolled out its Are You Still Watching feature this quarter, and that stops streaming if users haven't done anything for a while, and it figures that feature has probably actually hindered the streaming numbers. Still, despite all that, activity still grew by about 49%. In other words, Roku users, you've been streaming a lot lately. Next up, Bob's out and Bob's back again. Yes, Disney's former CEO Bob Iger, who announced he would be stepping away just this past February, is reasserting control to help lead Disney through an extremely unusual and tumultuous time. The original plan was for former Disney Parks head Bob Chapek to take over, but the coronavirus pandemic has had a huge effect on Disney's parks, cruise, and other operations. In fact, one analyst estimated that Disney's theme parks could lose something like $3.4 billion in revenue. And in a statement to the New York Times, Iger said that this situation would have resulted in him helping Disney out anyway, given the fact that he's led the company for about 15 years. So now he's back and talking about different ways the company can eventually recover from the pandemic, including things like temperature checks at its theme parks and trimming TV show production costs. Of course, it remains to be seen how and when major attractions like Disney World and Disneyland will reopen, and we'll be keeping an eye on how Iger and the company adapt to the situation. For now, though, I'm curious, what would it take for you to head back to theme parks or really any large crowd gatherings now? Looking forward to returning soon or just taking a more cautious approach? As always, feel free to let us know in the comments below. Next up, we have an update on the Disney on Broadway concert that was going to stream last night, but ended up not. Various groups and unions that were involved have agreed on the streaming rights that allowed the rebroadcast of the November concert to move forward. Yesterday, we reported on the last-second cancellation after Broadway Cares, the fundraising group organizing the event, could not get the American Federation of Musicians to sign off on streaming rights. Well, the two sides have reached an agreement, and the fundraising concert, which features more than 79 performers and a 15-piece orchestra, is now back on, with a new date of April 17th at 7 p.m. Eastern. To recap, the stream is meant to help raise funds to help with healthcare and other financial issues for performers, musicians, and other production members due to work shutdowns during the coronavirus pandemic. You can catch the stream this Friday at Broadway Care's site or on their YouTube channel, and we have those links linked in our own post down below in the video description. Moving on, the Discovery Network is making a selection of its various shows and specials available for free without commercials as part of its Family Favorites program. As you can imagine, the idea here is to offer up more content options for families staying at home from school and staying in at night, and it includes full seasons from the Discovery Channel, HGTV, DIY Network, TLC, Animal Planet, Science Channel, cooking channel, and DIY. As for specific shows, some highlights include Little People, Big World on TLC, Kids Baking Championship and Chop Jr. on Food Network, and How the Universe Works on the Science Channel, and that one in particular has my personal attention. You can stream those shows and more by downloading the various Go Network apps under the Discovery umbrella, and there are 13 of them, by the way. The apps are all available on iOS and Android, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and more. Beyond the dedicated apps, we've also seen full episodes added to various Discovery Network properties on YouTube, so check those out as well. And you can find out more in Jess's post linked down below in the video description. Next, we have a couple updates on Quibi, including a suite of new shows coming to the fledgling streaming service. The mobile-focused service promises to have new shows every Monday, and one weekend they've made good on their word, with 7 new shows hitting the service this week. Now, Tamara has a rundown of all the new options in a post linked down below, and that post also includes some trailers for you to check out as well. And while we're talking about Quibi in its first week, it looks as though the app was downloaded about 1.7 million times in the past week, including the 300,000 launch day installs we reported on earlier. For context, Disney Plus had more than double that on its first day alone, but as we've said, it's a bit unfair to compare the two since Quibi is relying on original shows, and Disney has its legendary vault to pull from, in addition to new shows and other content. It's early days, obviously, but Quibi appears to be working to address some challenges, including some it didn't foresee. Case in point, casting options from mobile to TV are reportedly in the works. Now, this wasn't a point of emphasis during the launch, since Quibi is very much a mobile-first platform, but the current pandemic has far more people staying at home and far fewer people commuting and roaming around town. So, one of Quibi's major use cases might be considerably underperforming right now. In the end, of course, this is just week 1, and there's a considerable amount of talent and resources at play here, so we'll continue keeping an eye on Quibi to see how it fares moving forward. And finally, a quick update from Verizon, who's launching a new remote tech support tool to help technicians address service issues without having to step inside homes right now. The new tool allows those technicians to chat with customers who can share photos and live video, and they can assess the situation remotely and recommend actions. They can also draw and highlight on the screen and direct customers to carry out specific steps like flip this switch or attach a cable to this port. Now, this tool comes online not long after the company scaled back its home internet installation and repair options as part of its effort to maintain social distancing during the current pandemic. And yes, I'm sure there will be instances where using a phone to connect to a customer who's already having connectivity issues will lead to some difficulties, but it'll be interesting to see how well received the tool is. And there's really no reason Verizon can't continue to offer this feature once the pandemic eases, which begs the question, would you, as consumers, prefer live remote help, or would you rather just have a technician come to your home? Comment down below, let us know. And that brings us to the end of yet another edition of Cord Cutting Today. And if you made it this far, I thank you. And before we go, let's get to a viewer question. Killed5639 asked, is there some way we can lower the resolution for movies on the Disney Plus app? I'm having some issues on my Samsung TV where the TV picks up 4K HDR for the movie, but the HDR doesn't work properly. FYI, the HDR on my TV works fine. I've tested it with 4K HDR videos on YouTube. And unfortunately, as far as I've seen, there's no direct manual way to force a certain resolution or toggle HDR on or off in the Disney Plus app, at least for the moment. If your TV is working fine elsewhere, it might be worth chatting directly with Disney Plus and seeing if their auto detection settings are getting tripped up by something with your TV. Beyond that, if there are any other Disney Plus users having similar problems, let us know in the comments below and maybe we can help a fellow cord cutter out. For now, though, thank you as always for tuning in. And again, if you want to support the channel, feel free to click the like and subscribe buttons down below. And feel free to follow along as well at our site, cordcuttersnews.com. In the meantime, I'm Philip Palermo, and I'm about to take some Benadryl. Take care.